There is no mead tonight, no song, no steel clashing over ocean spray. Only wind, only frost. Only the sound of wood creaking and breath, thin and visible in the cold. You've heard the stories, Vikings with axes, ships with snarling prows, monks fleeing the tide. But that's not where we begin, not tonight. Not here. You are not a warrior. Not a jarl. You are a soul. Tucked away in a wooden house, a peat fire sputtered in the corner. It does little to ease the chill of the endless winter night. The wind whispers tales of frost giants and the hungry sea. But the only giants you fear are the shadows stretching across your hut. And the only monsters you've seen are the ones in the murky depths of your own mind. What do you know of mead halls and war cries? To what use are axe and shield when the world is white and silent? What songs have you sung? What stories told? Who do you tell them to? The faces around the fire are blurred, indistinct. Are they real or figments of a fevered mind? Does it matter? They huddle close, seeking warmth and solace in the shared glow of the fire. Some sleep, but you cannot. You are a Viking, yet your hands have known better. How many nights have you dreamed of battle, of glory, of the warm embrace of your hall, your people, your home? A mug of ale in your hand, the laughter of your brothers ringing in your ears, the clash of steel, the roar of the crowd, the thrill of the hunt, the taste of victory, the sting of defeat. Tonight, there is no mead. There is no song. There is no one to impress. There is no one but the old woman in the corner, her eyes closed, muttering a prayer to forgotten gods. The fire sputters, the wind rises, the snow falls harder, faster. The old woman opens an eye. She beckons you closer. Her voice is like ice, but her eyes, they burn with a cold fire. She speaks of ancient pacts and slumbering powers, of sacrifices made and debts unpaid. And as she speaks, the fire on the hearth grows, becoming a gateway, a portal to somewhere else, somewhere colder, darker, hungrier. Something stirs in the frozen north, awakened by the old woman's song. It stirs and it reaches for you. Are you ready? What do? You wouldn't survive a Viking winter. You think you would. You think your modern sensibilities, your Prius and avocado toast have prepared you for anything. But you haven't lived until you've experienced a Viking winter. You wake before the sun, not from duty, no, sorry, but from cold. Your breath fogs in the dark. The thatched roof above you crackles with snow weight. Beneath you, straw, damp and flattened, barely softens the frozen floor. You pull your wool tunic tighter. You hear the goats shuffling beside you. Your neighbors are your livestock. You haven't seen fresh food in weeks. The stew is salt meat and dried herbs. The broth tastes like the memory of better meals. There's no light, no laughter, only survival. You tell a tale at night, not to entertain, but to keep from weeping. Long pause, fade to wind sounds, distant crackle of fire. Have you ever tried to build a fire in sub-zero weather? Doesn't work out so well. The wood's too wet. It won't catch a spark. Then you remember that fire saw used on the long ship. The one they used to sacrifice the serpent to? Yeah, that fire saw. Well, they used it for more than just sacrifices. Grab a red-hot musket ball from the forge and a small piece of dry kindling. Then use the fire saw to slice the ball in half. Place the two halves of the ball on either side of the kindling, then blow gently. You have fire. The men all stare at their feet, their faces grim, etched with the memory of frostbite and the fear of losing another finger to gangrene. They don't look up when the door to the longhouse creaks open. They don't need to. They know who's there. Tall, broad-shouldered, long of limb and beard. He stands silhouetted against the gray sky. He shakes the snow from his shoulders and cloak. He moves with the grace of a wolf, the predator. His eyes are ice blue, cold and hard and bright. Even his anger burns with an icy fire. At his side, a girl skips rope, her red braid flying. She doesn't see the men staring at her. She's too busy taunting the raven. A glint of sunlight off polished armor. That's enough for the men inside. Their heads rise, their gazes locking onto the raven. This one moment is all it takes. The warrior has returned. And with him, hope of fresh meat in the stew. He shrugs off his cloak and hangs it on the wall rack. The men watch, mesmerized, as he lifts his skirt and empties his pouch. A shower of silver hits the floor. each coin a story of raids and battles. He tosses a heavy fur cloak onto the chieftain's empty throne. The men stir, whispering among themselves. Chieftain is gone. This man is not the chieftain, but something about him, the way he moves, the way he carries himself, commands respect. Maybe it's that the gods themselves seem to part the wintry sky to reveal his face. Or maybe it's because he survived the winter. They know this man has seen things, horrible things, things that make a man question the gods and despair of ever seeing the spring. He has stared death in the face and laughed. He has welcomed the bite of the north wind as an old friend. They call him the Raven because he brings news from distant lands. News of warmer climates where the sun shines and the mead flows freely, where the fields are green and the people fat and lazy, where the women are plentiful and welcoming. Here the women are thin as saplings and twice as hard. Their cheeks hollow, lined with worry. How many months until the spring? Will the children survive? Will the goats? What will the chieftain say when he returns? Will he be angry or disappointed that they ate the last of the dried fish? That they boiled the last of the barley in the great cauldron? Will he demand they pay back the debt with interest? All the women here are like that, hard and sharp and smelling faintly of goat, except Astrid. Astrid is different. When she smiles, the winter seems to recede a little, the sun breaking through the clouds. She has fire in her hair and laughter in her eyes. Her touch is warm and real. Her smile makes the raven feel alive again. The others, they live in the present. They worry about the next meal, the next snowfall. They wonder if the chieftain will come back. But Astrid sees the need for hope, hope that spring will come and that the land will turn green again. So while the others huddle around the dying fire, Astrid gathers kindling. She stokes the embers and feeds the flames until the fire roars back to life. For a few precious moments, they are warm. Do you ever wonder if there are worlds hidden beneath our own? Not other planets or dimensions, but buried secrets right here on Earth, waiting to be discovered by us? Well, today we found one. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this channel where we uncover fascinating stories from history. Today we were going to explore a mysterious ship buried underground with two women who might have been sorceresses. If that sounds interesting, then let's jump in. In the heart of Norway lies a burial mound known as Oseberg. Beneath it rests a secret that has intrigued historians and archaeologists for centuries. Made a magnificent ship, not of wood, but of solid rock, carved with such precision, it's like it was done yesterday. And inside this tomb, two women lay silently, each shrouded in mystery. Imagine the year is 834 AD, and you are an archaeologist unearthing a treasure from the past. That's exactly what happened when a massive ship emerged from the soil of Norway. Measuring over 60 meters long and adorned with intricate carvings, it wasn't just any ship. It was a Viking ship, a symbol of power, exploration, and adventure. But this ship held a peculiar secret. Instead of warriors or a powerful ruler, it had been crafted to bury two women. Now, you might be asking, why would such a grand ship be used for burying ordinary people, let alone two women? Well, these weren't ordinary women. The ship was discovered along with a wealth of artifacts, including two intricately carved wooden chests. Inside the first chest lay the skeleton of a woman, estimated to be around 50 years old at the time of her death. The second chest contained the remains of a younger woman, possibly in her 20s. These weren't just individuals. They were carefully chosen objects, each whispering tales of their time and place. Archaeologists found that both bodies were laid to rest with numerous grave goods, suggesting they were of high status. The older woman's possessions included a spindle whorl, indicating a possible connection to the royal family. You see, during the Viking Age, women typically engaged in spinning and weaving, and the spindle whorl was an essential tool for these tasks. The younger woman's belongings hinted at a different story. She was found with a comb made from whalebone, hinting at her role as a potential priestess or a member of the elite. You see, combs were not only used for grooming, but also symbolized social status and power during the Viking Age. Now, you're probably wondering about the ship itself. Why was it carved from solid rock? Well, ships played a crucial role in Viking culture, representing more than just a means of transportation. They were symbols of power, exploration, and adventure. By carving the ship in stone, the Vikings symbolized the importance of these values and their belief in an afterlife filled with riches and adventure. But wait, there's more. The ship is adorned with a plethora of unique carvings, many depicting scenes from Norse mythology. But let's take a closer look at those two women. Who were they? What secrets did they hold? Historians and archaeologists have put forward various theories, but concrete evidence is scarce, adding to the enigma surrounding their identities. One theory suggests that they were priestesses or sorceresses, individuals who held significant power and influence in Viking society. As priestesses, they may have been responsible for rituals, divination, and healing, roles that often carried a heavy burden of societal expectations and, in some cases, persecution. The burial chamber's location deep beneath the earth could symbolize a descent into the underworld, hinting at their expertise in navigating the realm of the dead. Another intriguing possibility is that they were slain companions, loyal subjects who sacrificed their lives to accompany their beloved ruler into the afterlife. The grandeur of their burial suggests a deep sense of loyalty and camaraderie, highlighting the emotional bonds that existed within Viking communities. And let's not forget the ship's carvings. They offer glimpses into the beliefs and worldview of the Viking people. The dragons on the bowsprit symbolized power and strength, while the sled-like structures on the gunwale represented the means to traverse the underworld. But the silk found on the tapestries pointed to a much warmer climate, leaving archaeologists puzzled. After all, how did silk end up in this frozen land? As we delve deeper into this captivating mystery, remember that every artifact, every carving, and every bone tells a story. And the stories of these two women, though lost to history, continue to echo through the ages. Their names may have been forgotten, but their presence in the Oseberg ship serves as a powerful reminder of the rich tapestry of human history. From the ashes of a fallen kingdom, a new saga begins. Welcome to the new season of Vikings. And to set the tone, here's an original song, a tale of one very bad hombre. He was born under a cursed star. Some said he was touched by gods, others by something darker still. They called him Egil Skallagrimsson, son of a chieftain slain in war, raised by a mother who spun tales of revenge. He was a Viking, yes, but he was also a poet, a killer, a father, a curse to kings. He killed at 7 and rhymed better than the skalds by 10. He wandered the cold seas not for glory, not for the love of battle, but because no place welcomed him for long. No mead hall could contain him. Throne could claim him. He was a shadow in the night, a whisper in the trees, a nightmare to the living, and a bane to the dead. He insulted kings and buried sons. And when his life was on the edge of a blade, he wrote a poem. Not a plea, not a prayer, but a curse. So beautiful, they say, the king couldn't kill him. And so we find him now, old and blind, bitter and brilliant, waiting for the end. But death is a long way off, and the gods have a taste for irony. For in the twilight of his years, he takes up the pen once more to write the story of his life, his loves, his losses, his battles, and his bane, his victories and his defeats, and the sins that made him a monster. From his birth under a cursed star until this moment, stripped of all power, stripped of all sight, stripped of everything but his memories and his mind, the only things that can truly kill a man are those memories and that mind enough to drive him to madness, enough to break his heart, enough to make him laugh. For who is this man? Where did he come from? What will he become? Why does he haunt our nightmares? Why is he always there on the edge of our vision, just out of the corner of our eye, always watching, never seen? What is he waiting for? What will he do when he gets it? How far will he go to get it? His name echoes across the ages, a warning to kings and a whisper to the dead. They called him Egil Skallagrimsson, scourge of Norway, terror of the seas. And if he had it to do again, he'd do it all in the name of love. Egil Skallagrimsson, son of a fallen king, haunted by the ghost of his father and the memory of his mother's song. He roamed the earth for 7 years, seeking a place to call home, a people to call his own, a love to call his own. But the world was a cold and lonely place, and hope was a candle in the wind. Then one day he found her, a shield maiden strong and proud, a warrior queen, a kindred spirit, a kindred soul. He vowed to protect her, to serve her, to love her with all his heart and all his soul. And she, her laughter was like the song of a lark, her eyes like the stars in the night, her touch like the sun on his skin. He knew he had found the one, the only one, the one he would follow to the gates of hell. But fate had other plans, darker, colder, crueler plans. For as their love grew, so did the darkness, the cold, the cruelty. For in her egg saw the ghost of his mother, the memory of his father's wrath, the echo of his own despair. And he knew that if he didn't break the curse, it would break them both. So he set out on a journey to find the source of the curse, to confront the darkness, the cold, the cruelty, to overcome the odds, to defy the fates, to win the one he loved. But the path was long and fraught with peril, filled with monsters and mayhem, with treachery and betrayal, with despair and death, and he knew that if he failed, the curse would consume them all. Egil Skallagrimsson, the curse of Norway, the terror of the seas, the bane of kings, the heartbreak of gods, born under a cursed star, destined for greatness, doomed to fail, driven by love, haunted by loss. He fought with words and with wrath, with tears and with blood. For his love, for his soul, for his sanity, he fought with the fury of 1,000 suns, with the heart of a broken lark, with the touch of a dying ember. Would it be enough? The great hall is filled with the scent of roasting boar and the sound of boisterous laughter. A massive wooden table dominates the space, laden with food and drink. At its head sits a habacked chair carved with ancient runes. Upon it sits the Jarl, the leader of the clan, a man whose power is only challenged by the snow piled atop the nearby mountain peaks. Before him sits a captive, bound and gagged, brought here as tribute from a neighboring clan. His eyes dart around, taking in the scene, trying to find a way out, to escape this place of feasting and firelight. The hall is alive with activity. Men guzzle down flagons of mead, their voices growing louder as the night deepens. Women weave between tables, carrying more food and drink, their voices like birdsong amidst the din. Children run and play, their laughter echoing off the high ceiling. The air is thick with the scent of wood smoke and roasting meat, and the rhythmic crash of tankards on the table is punctuated by the occasional shriek of laughter. At one end of the table sits a group of men, their faces grim, their voices low. They are the Jarl's advisors, and their conversation is serious. The captive watches them, trying to piece together what he can of their language. He catches bits and pieces of their conversation, enough to send a chill down his spine. He hears the word tribute, the word ransom, and then the word war. He looks at the men, trying to gauge their mood, their intentions. Are they planning to take him back to their clan? Alive or dead? He doesn't know. And the uncertainty is gnawing at him, making him more desperate than ever to escape. Then there is the skald, the storyteller, the keeper of the clan's history and traditions. He sits apart from the others, his harp at his side, his eyes half closed as he sings. His voice is strong and clear, carrying over the noise of the hall, sings of battles and feasts, of love and loss, of heroes and monsters. And the captive finds himself strangely drawn to the music, to the stories that have echoed through the ages. It's a strange mixture of emotions that the captive is feeling: fear and fascination, despair and hope. He's trapped in a nightmare from which there seems to be no escape. But the thought of his own clan, of the life he's fighting to return to, gives him strength. As the night wears on, the captive's mind races. He thinks about his family, about his friends, about his home. He thinks about the life he's fighting to return to. He thinks about the ransom his clan has probably already paid, about the chances they're taking, all for him. And then he thinks about escape. Is it possible? Can he get out of this hall alive? Or will he become just another story the skald sings about, another victim of the Jarl's insatiable hunger for power? He looks around the hall, searching for an answer. But all he sees is the dancing fire, the drinking men, the laughing children. He feels the weight of their eyes on him, the curiosity, the amusement, the predatory gleam. He knows he's not safe here. He knows he must leave, but he doesn't know how. The hall grows silent, the laughter fading into the night. The men grow quiet, their eyes heavy with drink. The captive watches them, waiting for sleep to pull them under. But some stay awake, their eyes fixed on him, their expressions unreadable. The fire burns low, casting long shadows on the wall. The captive shivers, pulling his ragged cloak tighter around him. The silence is heavy now, broken only by the crackle of the fire and the distant sound of a dog barking. Outside, the wind rises, rattling the windows of the hall, and the captive presses himself against the wall, trying to make himself smaller, hoping to disappear. But it's no use. He's trapped here, a mouse caught in a lion's den. And then, just as the first rays of sunlight begin to peek through the cracks in the wooden shutters, the men stir. They stretch, yawning, and begin to talk in hushed voices. The captive closes his eyes, bracing for whatever fate awaits him. He doesn't know what they're saying, but he can feel their eyes on him, heavy with malice. He opens his eyes and looks at them, defiant, ready to face whatever comes next. The hall is dark, the only light coming from the fire and the torches on the walls. The captive sits in the corner, his back against the cold stone, his knees pulled up to his chest. The snow falls softly on the village, covering it in white, muffling the sounds of the night. In the distance, a lone wolf cries out, its mournful howl echoing through the frozen trees. It is a cold night, but inside a small cottage a fire crackles merrily, casting flickering shadows on the faces of those gathered near. For 2 days they have been running. 2 days since the raiders had come screaming down from the north, their eyes blazing with the promise of death and destruction. 2 days since our hero had answered the call to arms, shouldering his spear and shield, joining the men of the village in a desperate attempt to hold back the tide of violence. The men are gone, all but one. He sits by the fire, his armor discarded, his face streaked with dirt and sweat, his eyes fixed on the flames. Beside him sits a woman, her hand resting on his arm, her touch gentle, her gaze filled with worry. She is the healer of the village, her knowledge of herbs and remedies respected by all. But tonight her skills are not needed. Tonight there is nothing she can do to ease the pain that lingers in the eyes of the lone warrior. He remembers the battle, the clash of steel on steel, the shouts and screams of men, the smell of blood and sweat. He had fought bravely, yes, but it had not been enough. They had lost. The village was in ruins, their homes burned and destroyed, their fields trampled underfoot. And worst of all, many had been taken, their lives forfeit, their fates unknown. As the night deepened, the fire dwindled, the shadows grew longer. The warrior's eyelids grew heavy, the memories of the day pressing down on him like a physical weight. But he did not sleep. He could not bring himself to close his eyes, to let the nightmares in. The healer saw the turmoil in his eyes, the exhaustion etched on his face. She knew he needed rest, not just for his sake, but for the sake of the village. He needed hope, and hope could not flourish in a heart burdened with grief. She rose, her joints aching from the long day, and went to the hearth. She stirred the dying embers, coaxing them back to life, and as she did, she began to speak. Her voice was soft at first, but it grew stronger, taking on a rhythm and cadence that lulled the warrior into a state of half-awareness. She told him stories of the village, of how it had been before the raiders came, of children playing in the fields, of laughter echoing from the houses, of the market square bustling with activity. She spoke of the future, of how they would rebuild, how the fields would once again be sown, how the houses would be repaired, how life would go on. Her words were a balm to his soul, soothing the raw edges of his grief, allowing him to drift, if only for a little while, away from the pain of the present. Then, as the first rays of sunlight touched the horizon, she finished her tale. The warrior sat up, his eyes clear and bright, his face still bearing the scars of battle, but his spirit lifted. He looked at the healer, his lips curving into a smile. For the first time since the raiders had come, he felt a sliver of hope. It was time to rise. The sun was up. The battle was over. He was not a raider, nor was he remembered in saga. But he was here. His fire was low, his hands cracked from wood and frost. He dreamed of spring, he feared the wolf. But for now, sleep. There was nothing left to fight. Perhaps, just perhaps, that was peace.